Swim Things in Blue Springs, your one-stop shop for all things swim. Pools, spas, patio furniture, swimwear, and accessories. Visit them in Blue Springs or at www.swimthings.com.
I wasn't too concerned about staying close to home. I kind of, when I found out about Howard, I was kind of like, that's where I want to go. So for me, Howard is like about a 9-hour drive from where I am now. Sometimes shorter, depends on how you hit New York and Connecticut. Those really are the biggest factors. Um, but yeah, so being too close to home wasn't really a factor of mine. The real big choices for me was trying to see, I wanted to be somewhere that everyone was like me and looked like me. So that was that was really the reason why I chose Howard. And it's a great academic school. So that was another big choice for me. And I knew swimming there I'd be fine. So I was excited. That was really, I don't know, that was the best choice I made. So can't
Yeah,
complain.
obviously it's turned out very well for you. So,
Yeah.
Nick, what did you see in Latoya personally as an athlete and a student, as an all-around person that convinced you that she could be a good asset for the swim team?
Well, first, big shout out to Sydney Cooper, Scoop, and MJ, Michaela Johnson, who were the two individuals she's talking about. I think that she knew from age group swimming before she got to Howard. I like to say that I had the inside track about her. They spoke so highly about her as her character, really stood out to me in the conversations that I had with MJ and Scoop. They were saying, hey, this young up and coming young lady, she's a swimmer, she's fast, coach. We need her. And at that point in time, LaTroy was a part of my very first recruitment class. And it was exciting to me to be able to really dig into, who would be that very first group and who was going to be a part of helping the program advance the way I wanted to advance it as I got started. Got a chance to set up a call with LaTroya, and let me tell you, we had a very good conversation. I don't think that when I got off that call, I had any doubt that she needed to be at Howard. She just really stood out to me as being someone that I wanted to be a part of the program to help us move the program forward. And then, as she came, her times were obviously exactly, in the line that we wanted them to be. And we felt like we could see a future in her development.
So I would imagine a lot of people watching this show don't know a lot about Howard University and particularly its history in swimming. Now, just for those watching, it's one of 105 universities in the United States that are categorized as historically Black colleges and universities, or HBCU. And they're mostly in the southern states, many of which were formed in the years immediately after the Civil War as a way to give Blacks an entry into higher education when other universities were keeping them out. So Howard University's swim team right now has a distinction that I find very quite shocking in 2020, is that since 2016, it's been the only HBCU in Division I with an intercollegiate swim team. And thankfully, that's both men and women. So, Nick, why do you believe that other HBCU schools have dropped their swim teams?
That's a question I get asked often, and quite honestly, I give the same answer. I think it's a lack of value amongst the leadership at the different institutions, whether it be an athletic department or even higher up. And because I honestly don't think that it's strictly financial. I mean, we even look at some of the institutions right now that are losing their programs, and the big cry or reason that they're saying is because of finances. They're going to save this amount of money, and quite honest, I just don't buy it. I've been able to see what the financials look like to be able to run the program on all the different sides and facets, and there's no question that there is a financial portion to it that's there. But I think that when you have a really good program, you have individuals that are coming in and achieving, not just in the pool, not just in the classroom, but also in their community. I think that adds a value. It may not necessarily have a specific numerical value to it, but it does have a significant value. I think that also within HBCUs, there is the old mindset of Blacks don't swim, and that people of color should not go near the water. I mean, I remember hearing that growing up from, friends of my parents and my grandparents, et cetera, that old mindset and those old myths are still there because we have not done a significant enough job of getting the messaging out there that those are myths. That Blacks' bone density is heavier, and that's the reason they can't swim, and that Black girls aren't going to swim because they don't want to mess their hair up. And, those are all those are realities that we deal with every single day. And I think that at the highest levels, people are still buying into that, and they haven't done enough, and they haven't gathered enough information about why those things are not true, and why the significance of our sport is important, because at the end of the day, swimming is a life skill, and that everyone needs to know how to swim because their life may depend on it at some point or another. And being a historically Black college and university, we have, in my opinion, we have a responsibility to our community. When you look at the different statistics of Blacks drowning at 65%, 65% of Blacks have limited or no swimming ability. And being at HBCU, we have an opportunity to be able to do something about that on the ground level, as well as be able to show from a swimming and diving at a competitive level what you can aspire to be for that younger generation. Visited Florida, really enjoyed it, but I knew my heart was bleeding blue, and that I needed to be a Bison, and it was going to be a special part of my life. So I attribute it, one, that there were only two options for me in terms of what I had identified as what was important, and then two, having that significance of that family backing and those role models made the choice for me.
And what events did you specialize in when you were a swimmer?
For me, I was a breaststroker. I like to say that I dabbled in the sprint freestyle, and I also was an IMer.
Oh, very good. We got a lot of breaststrokers on the show today. That's great. Breaststroke power.
Yes, breaststroke is the heart and soul, baby.
Yes, it is.
So, there's been a lot of improvement over the time that you started coaching there, Nick, and that's great. But I think one thing that everybody's hoping to be celebrating next year is having LaTroya compete at the Tokyo Olympics. And correct me if I'm wrong, she would be the first Olympian for the school in any sport. Is that right?
For Howard, no, not at all. No.
Wow, well, that's good to hear.
No,
she's the latest. She's the latest.
I am the latest.
That's good.
So within our history as a swimming and diving program, we actually had a few members that have participated in Olympics. One of the most recent, other than LaTroya, was Dr. Ngozi Manu, who swam for her country of Nigeria at the 2004 and 2008 Olympics, and as well as her younger sister also participated. Uche Manu were two of the latest that have participated. And then we also have Olympians that have gone in other sports. If you look at our current director of track and field and head coach, David Oliver is actually an Olympic medalist at the 2008 or 2012 Olympics. He's gonna beat me down when he sees me because I don't remember the date exactly.
I want to say it's 8.
I think so. But yeah, we definitely have some phenomenal athletes that have come from Howard and have come from HBCUs, all around. And we're happy to, support LaTroya. We were everyone was anticipating, these upcoming months right here to be able to start the celebration parties and watch parties to watch her get ready to go off. But it's delayed. We'll wait until next summer this time, because LaTroya has done so much for our program. She's been, you can just take a look, at how much energy she has, and that energy, the entire team feeds off that, current and former team. And we're really looking forward to supporting her.
So LaTroya, I read that you wanted to be an Olympian since you were 11 years old. When did you communicate this goal to Coach Nick?
So I actually never really spoke about it after I was 11. Besides my family, we used to always joke around about it. Haha, maybe we'll make an Olympic team for K-Bird, because K-Bird actually has never had an athlete participate in swimming. This is going to be their first time they'll have it in the Olympics. So we used to joke around saying like, you know, we're gonna swim for Cape Verde, ha ha ha. And kind of after that, I just kept continuing on with my swimming. When I was 12, I won Boys and Girls Club Nationals, and I have like a video of it. And I was like, yeah, I hope I can make the Olympics sometime when I'm older. And I said it in the video, and now we play it back and we're like, wow, like this is really happening, you know, like this is something that I really am going to be able to do now, which I thought was a joke. Even Coach Nick knows when we were at school, I even thought it still was a joke that I got a message from Cape Verde saying like, hey, would you like to be on the Cape Verde swimming national team? And we were like, you know, this might be just a joke because it's like some random guys that send you a message. Like, you know, we were all like, it was when we went, I don't know if Coach Nick remembers, when we went to watch Black Panther as a swim team. That was when I first saw the message. And I was like, this is a joke. Like, people don't just text off of Facebook saying like, hey, would you like to join the national team of Cape Verde? And it's like some old man. And you're kind of like, okay, this has to be a joke. Like, these guys are just trying to, you know, hoax me into something. You don't know, especially, you know, with the world today, how the world is today. But, you know, with the help of my family that still is there and the help from the family that's here, my grandmother, who's still in contact with all of the family there, they looked up all of these people and kind of reassured us that they were who they actually said they were. So,
well, I think it's pretty safe to say that the trail that even I followed in my swimming career, and the trail that the likes of Simone, Manuel, and others are continuing to push forward, was started by you more than 40 years ago. Now, I'm not trying to make you feel old, but how does it make you feel that to know that what you accomplish as a swimmer is in some silent way helping the current generation of Black swimmers?
I'm enamored, awed, happy, blessed. Certainly when I was going through that, wasn't anywhere in my head. But as I continue to grow in the sport and continue to grow older, but not old, I get people telling me things like that while I'm alive. And that's very special. Because sometimes when you get into my age group and you go to funerals, I wonder if the people who said things at the church actually said it to that person before they died. And I feel like this is just yet another blessing and another beautiful thing.
Well, I first heard your name when I was a college freshman because someone had told me at the time that you had been the first Black swimmer to win an NCAA title, coincidentally in the 100 breast, which is also my event. And I just don't think many people at the time, if any, knew your name in the mid 90s. And that's just a big travesty. At the time, you know, after you had, you know, left being a competitive swimmer in the 80s, 90s, and even 2000s, how did it feel to just kind of go quietly about your way, knowing what you did, just knowing that, you know, you did this and that was it?
See, it wasn't just it. And I'm glad you bring this up. I wanted, after I graduated undergrad and grad school at college, my goal was to go back to DC and go to law school. But like you may hear in my voice, I'm spiritually motivated. So my head coach, William Adams, at Chicago State was fired. That's not necessarily a bad thing. And he also coached the age group program. And so the parents in the age group program asked me to coach. And I said, cool. It's May. What's April? So I'll be here till July, go back to DC. I'll be out. 19 years later, I was still coaching.
Since you were the one to break the barrier by being the first Black American swimmer to win a national title, what sort of feelings do you get when swimmers like Simone Manuel or Colin Jones continue down this trail that you blazed?
I'm loving it, girl. It's so much fun to see. Are you kidding me? Oh my gosh. There was a time where I tried to put together a group. Chris Silva, rest in peace. The woman from Harvard. She's going to be mad that I can't think of her name right now. But she scored at Division Ones, myself and another guy from Detroit, to try and create some synergy around the accomplishments all three of us had. And I've always wanted to see um, African Americans grow in this sport. But maybe 10 or 15 years ago, I wrote a letter to, is it Chuck Weigelis? Is that right?
Yeah, Chuck Wilgus. Yeah.
Wilgus, about diversity and at the board level, not programmatically. And unfortunately, nothing moved. I see that it has become more diverse with women now. But I thought that would have a larger impact, especially when I think of USA Swimming, not only the actual swimming, but the business of insurance. And I thought it would help. I saw them make moves in diversity. I saw them set up programs, but I thought it should be at a higher level also. Well, I like you. Maybe I don't know this part about you, but in high school, I went to the senior nationals. So I already understood another level. What were they called back then? AAU?
Yep, AAU.
AAU, Cincinnati Pepsi Marlins. I will never forget that, my first one. And I was also asked or told that the janitorial staff enters over there when I went to that meet. They didn't know I was swimming. So I'm already kind of like understood that world. So I didn't think any differently than, what is my favorite thing? I don't want to lose. And I would go from there to Division Ones to indoors. So one year I had four national meets. So I was still on a journey.
All it was just don't lose.
Yeah. I mean, I was looking forward to the time when I got a chance to swim against Chris Wu. Back then, I think he went 55 plus, and we went to Hawaii one year to train, and for 3 weeks, and I did have a chance to swim long course against him. All I wanted to make sure is that he created no distance further than they already had. And once I found out his split, once I found out my split, I was like, yes, baby. So, I mean, it was fun. I mean, you know what it's like to be in the moment, to be ready. I'm shaking my arms now. Get ready. You're getting your body, your mind ready to compete. Because you're like tunnel. Well, at least I was. I was tunnel vision. So my goal was to make one commitment the entire race that I was going to execute. And I think that was a big help because it kept me from getting distracted. Maybe I have adult ADD, HD, I don't know. But, it really helped. So I don't know how you felt when you competed, but I can tell you when I competed, I was in a zone.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same way for me too. It's not easy, but yeah, you make it happen. I mean, talk about this.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I was just wanted to say this tunnel vision. It's just very interesting. You talk about being in this tunnel vision. Every swimmer has that. Everybody just, you think it's just swim in your lane. That's all you want to do, and try not to worry about the people around you. It's very hard to do for somebody like you in the mid 70s when civil rights was going on. Very strong movement there. Opportunities for Black swimmers were not as available as they are today. You're one of, if not the only, Black swimmer at these championship meets. I mean, how do you handle being the only one and putting in that tunnel vision? I can't imagine how you could do that.
Well, I was blessed. Now remember, I was the only African American male at USA Nationals. The only one at Division One. But at Division Twos, there was a teammate of mine by the name of Johnny Vito, who was the Olympian from Nigeria. There was also three divers, Henry Roby, Michael Flemister, Eric Blackman. There was, and then everybody else was Caucasian. But, and my coach was black. So I didn't feel alone at that time. I mean, even when I went to the nationals, my coach, one of my coaches, Charlie Hodgkinson, I don't know if you're familiar with that name, University of Miami, back in the days of what's the famous British breaststroke? The one that beat Brian
Oh yeah,
Joe.
David Wilkie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They said go meet David Wilkie. Now, I think I'm 17 or 18 years old. Can you imagine going to go meet the world record holder?
It's crazy. It's a crazy feeling.
It was. It was surreal. Then I was like, well, let's see if he can hang with me on this, or I can hang with him on that. You know, you start testing. I mean, I don't know about you, but I wanted to know. I wanted to know what they were doing, what I need to do differently to be even better. I wanted to. I tried to chase them down, but you know what it's like in this country. You're either first, second, or third in the world, pretty much. You can't go to the Olympics unless you're 1, 2, or 3, especially in our stroke.
You had probably felt that pressure going back to your early days as a swimmer in Washington, D.C. Now, in the 1960s, most pools weren't open to Black swimmers. So how were you able to thrive in the sport at the time?
So I've got to do the math. 56, 66, 68. It was at a outdoor public swimming pool. And it was integrated. It was integrated. And one of my brother's friend's mom told my mom there was such thing as a swim team. Now, I'm in the 7th going into the 8th grade, or I might be in the 8th grade, one of the two. Those 2 years of my life, I went to an all-boys school. The swim team had girls. I was in. I was in. So it was beautiful. It was beautiful. The coach, I remember, she said, "Get over there and do that." And they were swimming the length of the pool. I'm like, "You got to swim over the deep end too?" I was still nervous. I didn't really know how to swim that well. I was just trying to figure it out. I didn't know that I was figuring it out until I was maybe 14 or 15, which would put me into the early 70s. But it was always about chasing who was faster. It was never anything more than, and then go sit back and talk with my friends. Get ready for my next event. You have no idea, back in those days, they had this thing called clerk of the course. And the place where the athletes had to all go sit down in a chair at the right number they were listed on the program so they could be seated. And I always wanted to be in the last group because that was the fastest group. And then once I finally got there, wait a second, I want the middle lane. I got greedy, but it worked. And I got faster. So, it was fun. I mean, I'm not thinking anything adverse. I have heard people tell their children, how could you let that nigger beat you? Or nigger. They were speaking properly. But I have heard that. I felt sorry for the kid.
Did any of that mentality or drive change at all when you moved up to Chicago?
No. I mean, It was pervasive through the 80s. The kids would talk to me about when they go into the locker room, how nasty some of the other children would be. It was our reality. You know, it was something we dealt with all the time. Nowadays, because of social media, it's more, it's it's hidden less. The social media has been like one of the best things I've ever seen to help with racism. I mean, and some people don't even know they're racist. And they're not doing it intentionally. They've just been privileged not to have to worry about it. So, no, it's just our walk. It was just our walk. Excuse me, love. Adjust myself.
Yeah, it's really interesting how even through all of this conversation about, going through this with the environment around you, nothing ever wavered. You just wanted to be the best you could be. And I don't think anybody watching this is going to fault you for that, because it can weigh you down when you know what's out there, when people are just saying these things to you that could, a lesser person would have said, well, maybe there isn't any use for me in this sport. Maybe I should leave. And yet you persevered. I guess I want to give you that opportunity right now to just, look in the camera and give your thoughts to what USA Swimming could do to bring more of those beasts, those minority swimmers that you've seen on the streets that don't make the basketball, football team. How can they get them into the pool?
Well, they got to be convinced, I think, at the board level and not make it programmatic. I realize USA Swimming is an insurance company that happens to have swimming. And when you make those kinds of decisions, diversity at that level can impact the bottom level or the lesser level, the programmatic levels, the recruiting levels, because it becomes pervasive. You just gave somebody an opportunity to help USA Swimming become even more national, become known in the Black community, to become known that it's not just the privileged to be. I mean, I can't speak enough, and I'm not knocking what they're trying to do. They really are, but it's not at a high enough level. And I hope you hear me, USA Swimming.
You know, I love your enthusiasm and I love your vibe that you give off. What do you say would be your life motto?
They come to swim, they learn to live.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, that's really cool. I really, it's many years away, but I think that's the perfect thing to put on your gravestone. They came to swim, they learned to live.
Yeah,
I think that's great.
Yeah. Thank you so very much. That was a beautiful question you asked me.
Something else I didn't even bring up is that in 1983, you were honored with induction into the International Swimming Hall of Fame. That's talk about. Olympic medals are great, but to be in a Hall of Fame is really, really special. And what does it feel like to be a Hall of Famer?
Well, it's a great lead in. Sometimes I don't talk about that enough because I know I wasn't the first in the world, right? And
Right.
when you're competing at that level, that's what you want to be, right? And so part of me goes, I was just the first African American, and I put the word "just" there, and it's horrible that I do that. It's horrible. It's horrible that you do it to yourself because somebody else could say, "There's Jeff." You inspire people that you don't even know. I know I learned that I inspired people that I did not even know when I wasn't even talking to. So it's important to wear that badge of honor proudly. Your accomplishments, wear them proudly. Let people see, how sharp how hard you work, how serious you can get, how dedicated you can be, how disciplined you are. You know, so, Jeff, so you mean to tell me out of the whole world, let's just use the United States, out of entirely everybody in the United States, you were if it was only 100 people, 97 of them couldn't beat you. Instead of, oh, well, he got me and he got me. But 97. In my senior year of college, I lost the NC2As. I think I got sick. I was sick. I had a temperature, that whole 9 yards. But I felt horrible. I felt so horrible that I watched the person pass me at the last second. It was just like surreal. So I went home. I came back home. I went over to my buddy's house with his uncles. And he says, you know, this guy can swim. What do you mean he can swim? Man, he just came back from the Nationals. Here's my demeanor. Yes, sir. He got second or third. Yes, sir. Why is his head down? And he taught me. So you realize your head is down. How many people swim? 100? Thousands? Yes. So out of all of them people, right now, somebody else beat you and you beat the other 98? That changed my outlook. It changed my outlook so that you young people that make it into that world of swimming and you aspire to score, you're at the dance, you're at the party. You qualify for the meet, you're at the dance, you're at the party. Go and have some fun.
I think it's I think there's a dichotomy to that you can enjoy, and I think you're trying to bring it across is yes, don't like the fact that that one person beat you, but appreciate that you beat the other 98 as well, and it's very hard to do in the moment. I mean, I
Yes.
didn't get to that place where you were until I was in my 30s. I just agonizing over those losses and not thinking, hey, I got to go to NCAAs, and there are hundreds of thousands of people out there that never even got that opportunity. But you don't think about that in the moment. And I think it does help you put perspective on how good of a swimmer you are, how good of an athlete you are. And it translates it to the real world, I think. And I think that's why some athletes may even have a little trouble with that transition. But I know that was actually part of your work for a while.
Yeah, well, when I started doing writing, and I started delving into the area of sports psychology. I can't say I'm a sports psychologist because I don't have a PhD. But when we started writing, there was a certain mindset that one of my professors saw. And he said, you know what? We should write together. Okay. I am graduating from college. And a professor tells me, there's a thing called the graduate assistant. At the time, I didn't know what that was. They said, we got a spot. Why don't you apply for it? They said, just come to the office. They sat me down. They said, can you do this, this, and this? I said, yes. What time? This time, and that time. I said, yes. And then I got the job. And by doing that and taking my graduate courses and coaching and speaking, I got really, they saw that the way you think, the way I think, there's something there. There's something there. And we tried to translate it into writing and a skill set, relaxation, visualization, goal set. I mean, all of those elements are soft but hard skills. And so it's It's important. It's very, very important. I'm sorry that I continue to run off the mouth, but Jeff, you bring up some thoughts in my head of things we've done and how we do them and what we have both done in our lives and still thriving, trying to thrive. It's a beautiful thing. It's
It
really a
really
beautiful.
is. You're definitely right, and I'm going to speak for everybody who has watched and everybody who is, and I hope I'm sure I'm speaking for Molly as well. This has just been a thrill to kind of absorb some of this wisdom and learn more about your life because like you have said, be inspired. I'm inspired by your life, and I want to put that into practice. And it's I can't quantify how great it has been to meet you, to learn from you, and to talk to you today. And it's just been a joy. Thank you so much.
Those things, I just tried not to let it bother me. I think they more drove me. What people had to say, I just would show them through my swimming, if that makes any sense. Instead of focusing on it, I let it drive me to become a better swimmer. So yeah, at school I had comments in high school. I mean, I took it as a joke. Like, I always made things, ah, ha, 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 it was a joke. But they used to call me the Black Jesus. I don't know if that was supposed to be a bad thing or a good thing. But me, I just made it as a joke. I would be like, ha, 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 like, yep. Like, and just kind of shake it off, just let it be. And they'd be like, wow, you're fast for a Black girl. And it's like, what is a Black girl supposed to be? Slow? Like, you just kind of, I don't know, you just kind of don't let people decide your path. I guess my mom has always taught me, don't let others decide your path for your life. Something that you want to do, you do it. And you just show them through, whatever you are doing, whether it's swimming, whether it's your academics, you just show them through the scores you get or, through the different times that you get. So I guess I just focused more on proving people wrong than arguing about it.
How did it make you feel that you saw very, very few people who looked like you on the pool deck at swim practices or at swim meets even?
Oh man, okay. That one's a good one. It kind of stinks to not see too many people who are like you. That's why when I told you the two girls who I had at age group swimming, we became close because of our ethnicities. So, they both swam in the same LSC as me. We weren't always on the same swim teams, but we became close because, oh, that's another Black girl, like, who is swimming. And, all three of us became really close before we even were on the same swim team. And then before we even all chose to go to Howard University. So I think it was hard to not see anyone like you, but when you did see someone like you, it made you happy to see like others who are also performing the sport that you love. I think that's, as I said earlier, that's one of the reasons why I chose Howard, was because, I was putting myself in an environment where majority did look like me. Whereas I was growing up, I was in opposite. I one who looked like me. So, yeah.
Well, Nick, I would imagine that a lot of the things that LaTroy has said about her experience growing up in the sport applies to you as well.
Yeah, there's no question. It's interesting for me now as a coach. I see things even more differently than I did as a collegiate athlete, and even more differently than I did as an age group and high school athlete. There's just so many different instances, and I have the fortune of being able to sit down and talk to my team and to talk to them one-on-one. They know I have an open door policy. They'll come into the office and we'll just chat away for the whole day and be like, oh my gosh, what time is it? I got to get to class kind of conversations. And it's always warming to hear them open up about their experiences, and to hear that, wow, I remember when I was in the same circumstances, or have heard of those different things from some of the peers that I had, in college and whatnot. And, growing up in North Carolina, there were very few blacks or people of color, minorities in general, that were swimming at a elite age group level. We did have summer leagues, which had more minorities participating in those, but once the summer was over, it really kind of boiled down to those that were year round. And again, having the fortune of having an older brother or two older brothers that were in the pool and swam and were lifeguards, I did have that role model to continue to look at. But I know that until I got to Howard, I didn't realize how much that I needed, and how much I was missing being around other swimmers who shared similar experiences to me. And, even now as a coach, it's still very nice to go onto the pool deck. It's very nice to be able to go into the pool deck at a competition and having a team of over 40 swimmers and divers that are predominantly Black or of color, representing, because that's an image that you don't see at the collegiate level. And to go in and to know that, they're representing at the highest level of competition for Division I athletics. So it's all it's one big circle for me, and seeing it at the different levels. And I'm just really glad to have such a great team, and have been in a position as a coach to be around such amazing young men and women, and to be there to support them through their journeys, and some very difficult, for sure, being the only one, or feeling like the only one at times.
Well, so you took swim lessons, and as we said, your two younger siblings, Troy and Jayla, got swim lessons. They're now in the sport. They're now going to the Olympics. I just understand you have another younger brother who just learned how to swim as well. So it seems like the tradition is continuing.
Yes. For him, mainly, we just wanted him to at least learn how to swim. Whether he liked it as a sport or not, we weren't really too concerned about that. As Coach Nick said, there's a 65% of Black people who either don't know how to swim or drown due to swimming. And that's just one of our biggest goals, at least knowing how to swim. Whether you take it on and make it a sport of yours, that's up to him. We would love him to swim, and he loves to swim himself. So ironically, my mom's like, why didn't he like any other sport? But he loves swimming. So yeah, that's really our main focus, was just knowing how to swim.
Yeah. So this is a question for both of you, and you've kind of touched on it a little bit, but obviously you enjoyed the sport when you were very young. But when you got to Howard, and you saw all these people on deck look like you, shared the same experience, how did your perspective on the sport itself change?
Oh, it made me more excited, I think. For me, the perspective, it drove me to know that there was people like me trying to achieve the same goals as me. So I think it made me more excited. I had a team behind me who are just like me, who wants to swim every day and just wanted to push to be better as a group. And I think that was one of the best things that came of Howard, was the group that I came in with. We worked really hard to push each other and, to achieve a goal of making Howard University a different swim team. And that was one of the goals that we had as a group. We wanted to change the whole dynamic of what the team was. And I think that now that we have seen the team grow, it makes us happy that, we started a change.
Yeah, Troy is absolutely right. For me, when I came to Howard, it was a wake up, kind of an awakening moment, to be surrounded at the Mecca, by such an amazing abundance of Black excellence for the first time in my life, to see, something different than what mainstream media typically shows of people of color, to see people, going to class and achieving high academic marks, excelling in athletics. It was the first time that I really had that warming feeling of, wow, this is there's so much more to us than just what the mainstream media is showing. And it also creates what I like to call that positive pressure. I often tell my recruits and even our team, the story of, I never wanted to be that guy or that person that was in the middle of the conversation where someone's going to come up and ask you, what's your name, what's your major, what's your GPA? And my friend would say, oh, my name is so-and-so. I'm a mechanical engineering, 3.4 mate, 3.4 GPA. And the other one, I'm School of Business, 3.7 GPA. I didn't want to be the guy that said, oh, I'm biology, 2.2 GPA. I didn't want to be that guy that was,
Right.
or that person that was a part of the team and like, okay, well, what do you swim? Well, I swim breaststroke. Well, what's your time? What's your place? And he'd be like, oh, I got last place or this and that. There was that positive pressure, being on campus of getting more out of yourself and doing more, because I think, growing up, that just society subconsciously gave us that feeling of, there was not a lot of excellence that we could achieve because we couldn't
Right.
see it. There wasn't a ton of representation. And then, just kind of fast forwarding it to my collegiate coaching career, LaTroy, you remember this, we did a Make a Splash event. And I think it was your freshman year. And we were
Yep.
very fortunate to have former Olympian, Hall of Fame swimmer for University of Georgia, Maritza McClendon, come to the university and talk openly and candidly, first to our team at practice, but then having another, and then having an opportunity to have all these youth come to Howard University and put on this amazing clinic. And then seeing LaTroya, a young freshman LaTroya, take a picture. And Ritzy is so good. She lets everyone hold the medals and show the medals.
Yeah.
And there's a picture of LaTroya literally holding, these medals, these world champion medals. And, now you fast forward that now LaTroya has a chance to go to the Olympics.
Right.
It's just a beautiful image. And I think that having that representation, like a Maritza, or for me, my older brothers, or for somebody else, a Cullen or a Simone, and maybe for some other people at Howard University swimming and dive team, what you could, look forward to is so important. And Howard was really kind of the catalyst, or was the place for me, and I think for so many others.